I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Ben O. I'm one of the SkyBitz customer success managers from the Herndon, Virginia office. Pulling up today's agenda, we'll be going over landmarks, starting with creating landmarks, explaining the difference between multi-point and circular landmark creation tools, editing and viewing landmarks, nested landmarks, which are landmarks within landmarks, quick search landmarks, landmark groups, where we can group specific landmarks together, locating assets by landmarks, landmark activity, which provides you the arrival and departure information of your assets at a specific landmark. Please note, everything discussed today is currently available on Insight, but some SkyBitz engineering demo account features and capabilities may not be available at the moment. We'll be answering any questions towards the end of the training, so please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Okay, so let's dive right in. Position updates are sent by the SkyBitz mobile terminal devices that are near one of your created landmarks that will have that landmark's name displayed as their location. If no created landmarks are found near a position, the name of the closest point of interest is displayed. You can edit, add, delete, and view landmarks from the administrator account and any standard account that allows to create them. But everyone is allowed to view landmarks. Landmarks can be added using latitude and longitude or street address information. So why do companies use landmarks? Well, it allows you to identify essential points of interest for your business. For example, customers, yards, distribution centers. It filters in conjunction with other identifiers in order to make a quick decision. For example, yard checks. How many assets are in that landmark or yard? So you might ask, what can you do with landmarks in Insight? Well, to list a few, location-based search, yard check, groups, trailer pool, detention, and reports. When should you set up landmarks? Immediately. Once you have your account set up, you should go ahead and create them. Landmarks are critical to efficiently use the features and tools on Insight. So moving on, how to set up landmarks. To create new landmarks, please navigate to Manage Settings, Landmarks, and Add. Enter your landmark name. If you want to specify location ID, landmark type, phone number, you can do that as well. Only required information will be the landmark name and location information. As you can see here on this page, you have two drawing type options, multi-point and circular. Multi-point allows you to create a more precise landmark, while circular will allow you to create approximate radius landmarks. Input the landmark address. If you do not have the lat and long information, you can click Get Lat Long to generate the lat long once you input your address. As you can see here, I selected the Multipoint Tool, which allows you to draw and edit your landmark. Once all required fields are inputted, click Add Landmark. Now I've successfully created the landmark that I inputted. To edit and delete created landmarks, please navigate to Manage Settings, Landmarks, Edit, and Delete. Specify the country, specify the state, in the landmarks dropdown, it will populate all the landmarks matching your criteria. You can either leave a landmark dropdown to populate all landmarks based on your search criteria or select a specific landmark in the dropdown. Click Submit. On this page, you are able to edit your landmark. You can tighten up your landmark, update fields, or delete. To tighten up your landmark, click on the pencil icon. You can edit any landmark name or landmark type, or redraw on the Multipoint Tool. Once changes are made with your updates, click Save. It will ask you if you want to modify this landmark. Click on OK. To view created landmarks without editing details, please navigate to Manage Settings, Landmarks View. Specify the specific landmark that you want to view. Click Submit. As you can see on the right column, click on the Action Eye icon. This page will provide you to view landmark details, including the assets currently at that landmark, and if you specify the radius, any assets close to that landmark. So as you can see here, this is the landmark that I have created, and I put in a 2-mile radius, so it will pick up any assets around that radius. To create a nested landmark, please navigate to Manage Settings, Landmarks, Edit, and Delete. Specify the landmark you want to create a nested landmark within. Click on the action icon that is displayed with 2 square boxes. Nested landmarks allows you to create landmarks in specific areas of a created landmark. For example, if you want to see assets in a specific area of the yard. Click on the top right to add. Input nested landmark details. Draw out your nested landmark. Click Add. Now you have successfully created a nested landmark, and it will populate on the right side. You can also update and delete this nested landmark as well. At the top right of your page, you have a quick search function to also view your landmarks. Click on Landmarks, enter your landmark name, if you don't know your full landmark name, choose the following filters: equals, begins with, or contains. Once your landmark name information is entered, click on the drop-down on the right to choose either Locate Assets, which provides you all assets reporting at that landmark. Current Load Status provides you the current load status of all assets at the landmark. Or View Landmark, which allows you to view landmarks. It will populate in a table and a map view. And you can also download this as a CSV file to open up in Microsoft Excel. On the map view, you're allowed to select either map view or satellite view. Okay. Moving on to landmark groups. Landmark groups allows you to group specific landmarks together. Having a landmark group ties into other insight tools and features, especially reports. For example, yard check that will be covered in week 5 of Training Tuesdays. To create a new landmark group, please navigate to Manage Settings, Landmark Groups. Type your landmark group name of 4 characters or more. If you have a group type, specify the group type. Click on the country drop-down to specify the country. Click on the state drop-down to specify the state or all. Landmarks will populate on the bottom left box based on your search. Click on the landmarks you want to add to the group. You can either use Shift to select multiple landmarks or use Control on your keyboard to select multiple specific landmarks. Once you've selected all the landmarks that you want in your group, click on Save. At the top box, you will see your landmark group has been created. You can also edit your landmark group later in time by clicking on your landmark group name. And clicking on the pencil button to edit the landmark group. Moving on to locating assets by landmarks. Starting from the left, first option would be to click on Dashboard, Dashboard Home, Location Distribution. This gives you a drill down of locations, country, state, custom landmarks, or cities and towns. Second option would be locate asset, going to locate assets, location-based search. Specify the country and state. Select your landmark you are searching for in the dropdown. You can also specify the latest position threshold as well. For example, any assets reporting at this landmark for the past 2 days. You can either click on Display Map, which will view it in a map view, or Display Table, which you will see in the table. The third option would be navigating to Locate Assets, Asset View. Select your filters. Check Yes under the operational sections, Asset at Landmarks. Enter your landmark name. It will show all your assets reporting at the landmark in a map view. If you prefer a table view, click on Asset List at the top right corner. If you want a high-level view, click on the landmark list at the top right corner. This provides you a count of all assets at that specific landmark. Next thing we will talk about is landmark activity, which provides you the arrival and departure information of your assets at a specific landmark. Please navigate to Analyze Assets, Landmark Activity. Specify the country, specify the state, select your landmark or location ID, set your duration. You can set a custom date range or select a predetermined date period in the dropdown. It will provide you asset details regarding asset arrival and departure times. If you click on the details icon, it will pull up a map view. And as you can see on the page, it will list out all the arrival and departure times for this specific asset. The landmark activity can be downloaded as a CSV and opened with Microsoft Excel by clicking on the download button on the top right corner. You have the ability to download a CSV anywhere where you see this icon. So just a quick recap. We walked through creating landmarks and nested landmarks, how to edit and view landmarks, different options of locating assets by landmarks, getting critical arrival and departure details by landmarks. This concludes today's training. We had a few questions from our last session, how to identify 3G versus 4G devices. So if you go over to your dashboard homepage, dashboard home, population summary, the easiest way to identify 3G versus 4G devices are the last numerical value of 2 in the product type is 4G. So for example, GXT 5002C will be a 4G unit. And a GXT 5000C would be a 3G unit. Now we will open up for questions.
All right, well, thanks, Ben, for taking us through that. If you have any questions, feel free to click the question button on your screen, and I will come through and unmute you. If you've unmuted or muted yourself, you'll have to go ahead and unmute yourself, as I cannot control that. If you don't feel like asking the question verbally, you can always type it in your question browser. We can answer it that way as well. So the first question we have, Ben, is we have multiple codes for one landmark and have issues with them not recognizing when they're at the landmark. Any solutions or ideas?
So can you kind of, is there any other details that the individual provided?
Not in here. Julian, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you if you want to go ahead and ask your question or clarify.
Yeah, sure. So in our system, we have, like dedicated and brokerage and whatnot, and they have different codes for a landmark, or for in our system as well. So it'll be like GeoZac and then GeoZac 01 or something like that.
Okay.
And so those are the same location, but for different services within our with our company. And so one of the issues we've run across is they will be at the same location, but only the SkyFence code that's current, or the GeoFence code set there, is the one that recognizes it.
Got it. Okay, I think I understand your questions. Okay, so I think the best solution to go about that is to create a nested landmark. Okay. So this is going to be a landmark within a landmark. So for the example I provided today, I put in a Giant Foods. So I would create the whole landmark for the Giant Foods, but say that I want to see only specific parts of, say, the parking lot. I would just create a nested landmark of the parking lot so that all the assets that you want to see will only report at that parking lot.
Gotcha. So say, for example, in that one, I can name it a separate code within that nested landmark, because I took notes of that because I thought maybe that could be a solution.
Yes.
Could I take up the whole space with either one and just it'll recognize which code for which, or does it have to be split up? Because that could be an issue as well.
Yeah, so you would need, so let me just go through this. So just go here, manage settings, landmarks, edit and delete. Specify the country, specify the state, select your landmark. I created giant food.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see here, like these two squares icon, so just click on that. And as you can see on this page, there's going to be a nested landmark. So the red is the original landmark that we created, and the blue-purple is the nested landmark within, which is only portion of that landmark that we originally created. So if I just go here and just click on add, it will display the original landmark name, and it gives you the option to specify. So say that this is giant 002. So this is going to be only portion of that landmark that we created.
And so again, for example, on this, I could take up that whole same space that the original giant has, and ones that are coded for the regular giant food would show up in it, and the ones that are coded for O2 would also show up in their respective ones. But they're taking up the same space.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying?
yes, so it's the same landmark and the same, I guess, multi-point and circular landmark, but they're coded differently.
Correct.
So there's no way to kind of for the asset to figure out which landmark is that. So it will just point to the nearest landmark. So if you have a landmark at two different at the same place, the asset doesn't really know which one to point to, so it will point to the closest.
Right.
Yes. I think a way to put it maybe is, and hi, this is Debbie. I'm a senior product manager here on our fleet team. So we should start out by saying that you can't have two geofences, two parent level geofences covering the same space. And in fact,
Gotcha.
You can't have two geofences that overlap one another, kind of for that same reason that Ben was just explaining, that otherwise, the system doesn't know, so, okay, if they're covering the same space, how do I know which geofence you want it to be in? So kind of to Ben's point, you either have to have, nested areas in between, in which case it's still going to know that it's in that quote parent landmark in addition to being in that nested landmark. If you have different groups that are needing to use the same geofenced area, it's one landmark. You can't have more than one geofence at the same landmark covering the same space.
Gotcha. Yeah, basically I was just trying to explore this to see if I needed to go down the rabbit hole of redefining all of our codes for different, whatever ones. So it sounds like it may have to go that route then. I don't think a nested would work because, say they park on one side of the parking lot versus the other, right? That would have worked differently.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I really think nested's really not going to do what you're looking to do here. Bottom line is you need that same space utilized by more than one P&L. So.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to explore it a little bit. Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Yep. Thanks, Julian. Julian, Jim Lewis is your customer success manager, so I've actually pinged him to ask him to reach out to you and kind of work through some ideas and see if he can help you figure something out.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions at this time, Ben, so I'll throw it back to you.
Okay. Just a correction on the 3G versus 4G. So the new volumetric solution, the SkyConnect, does not end in the last numerical value of 2. So besides this SHB 1000, the other solar devices will end in a numerical value of 2 to determine if it's 4G or 3G. Okay, so if there's no other questions, please make sure to check out our SkyBitz YouTube channel. Thank you for joining and have a great day.